need you because you are receiving, you are listening, you are available to that which is being expressed from right here on this platform. So we bless our house band, we bless all the singers, we bless everything that's been put together up to this point, our wonderful practitioners, everything, because everything is done purposefully in order for you to be in a receptive frequency. The idea is to be available, to be receptive, to be open, which means to be like a child, not childish, but childlike, open and available. So that moment after moment after moment, you have a kind of a reverential alertness about life so that you can receive all that life is giving. Because life itself, and life is called by many names, the capital L life is called the living one, the divine presence, infinite, limitless love, beauty, intelligence, great God of the universe, the creator of presence, mother, father, God, infinite Spirit, Lord God Almighty, called by many, many names, but its nature is the same, never compromises itself, never contradicts itself, never works against itself. It is always being itself, and it is everywhere in its fullness being itself, expressing itself fully and completely, and loves instrumentalities through which to express through. Just as there in the music of the spheres, there's infinite musical compositions in the way the music of the spheres is expressing, but it loves an instrument to come through, whether it is a drum or a saxophone or a vocalist, and you are an instrument of the divine, and you as a limitless being get to express the limitless nature of God according to your nature, according to who you are, as a distinct, individualized expression of infinite potential. So a lot is riding on you. Listen, you think you're developing a trust of God and a trust in God? Well, God trusted its entire nature in you. God has entrusted all of what God is in and as you. Think about that for a moment, that who you are and what you represent, you've been entrusted with the full presence of love and beauty and intelligence and beauty and joy and harmony and abundance, and all of that has been entrusted within you, and according to your uniqueness, you're here to set it free. You're here to allow it to live itself as your life. And so we began to climb to the mountaintop of that awareness with supreme interest, which is our theme of the month, amazing dividends to behold, the burden of light as our topic. And supreme interest is what you are training yourself into. And that is the supreme interest in awakening, the supreme interest in coming to a spiritual realization of your oneness with the presence of God. So you have no other priority, you have other priorities, but your highest priority is to open yourself up to the possibility of enlightenment, to open yourself up to the possibility of awakening. You know that there's at least 3 stages of awakening. There's the awakening that takes place, of course, when you go to bed at night and you're in your dream state, and then you wake up, into this dimension of time and space. And then there's the awakening that takes place when you discover that you're not your body. Sometimes that happens for people in lucid dreams, happens to people sometimes when they leave their body, when they're in surgery or they have an accident, and suddenly they realize, oh my God, my consciousness is independent of the body. I'm looking at myself sleep. I'm looking at myself in the hospital bed. Or you're in a lucid dream and you're having conversation with somebody, your body is still in bed. And you realize that's the second phase of awakening, when you realize you're not your body. And the third phase of awakening is when you have a realization of your oneness with God, and you take that with you, with or without a body. It is something that when you see, you can't unsee it. Now, when that becomes your supreme interest, then there's the activation of your potential. You go into a potential activation formulation, which means the presence gets to vibrate at the level of your highest desire, which is to wake up to who and what you really are, and the frequency of grace begins to take over in your life, sometimes without praying for something or planning for something or even knowing you want something in your life. It hasn't become conscious yet. but because you're in the frequency of having the highest, the waking up as your highest priority, you come into the flow of the universal presence through the universe and its law to match that frequency. And something begins to flower within you based on your highest priority. And grace unfolds. You come under the vibration of not just the law, but you come under the vibration of grace that matches that. Now, as I have said over the years, enlightenment is easy only if you're interested in it. And most people aren't interested in enlightenment. Sometimes people have to be more interested in the survival of their body. You know, they have to be interested in how they're going to, find shelter or how they're going to find food for their family. So there's an interest there that is a priority, and then there's other people who just aren't interested in it. They're interested in the things of the world that are going to make them happy and bring them peace or a little satisfaction from time to time. But when you become interested, and that becomes your supreme, it's a supreme affirmation. I am interested in waking up. Your supreme interest. I'm interested in having a realization of my oneness with the presence. Then enlightenment. And what is enlightenment? I'll give you just, we're going to be talking about this theme all month, so I'll give you just a little bit here. And you enter into the doors of enlightenment with the awareness that you're already enlightened, and what you're doing is dissolving the obscurations, the hindrances, the obstructions, the beliefs, the points of view, the positionalities that are preventing you from seeing it. In other words, as Jesus the Christ would indicate, who by taking thought can add 1 cubit to their stature. You can't add anything to yourself. No amount of affirming, no amount of visualization, no amount of anything is going to add to you. The spiritual work is about the elimination of that which is hindering you from seeing you. So that's one level of the awareness of enlightenment. Another level is you begin to, with spiritual prayer and meditation and spiritual practice, you begin to see that the stuff that's passing through you is not you. It's stuff that's passing through you. Opinion is passing through you. Points of view is passing through. Interpretation of past experiences are passing through you. The life of experience is passing through you. All of that. At a certain point, there's a gap between that which is passing through you and that which is you. And you see, you're observing all this, but it isn't you. Now you're at the stage of absolutely waking up to you, which is an undifferentiated wholeness of the presence of God that carries with it when you're interested. Grace activated carries with it when you're interested. The presence of God able to find you vibrationally and express itself through you by means of you. You want to live at this level. You want supreme interest. And the amazing dividends are grace. The amazing dividends are the wisdom and the intelligence and the direct knowing that flows through you in a language and in a way that you can understand, as some people would say, hearing the voice of God. And what does that mean? It means that you're catching divine inspiration, divine ideas from the ideosphere that's proliferating the environment, because the presence doesn't have a mouth, because the presence isn't human, but the presence itself is full to overflowing with divine ideation. You catch it and you say, I heard the voice of God. I saw something. Where you have entered into the sacred field of divine ideas. And that which is everywhere in its fullness. You want to live your life at that level, because the vibrational frequency that you begin to carry under the law of grace is that your vibration begins to change and shift the manifest world, it begins to bend itself according to your frequency, which is way higher than the frequency of stagnation, anxiety, worry, fear, and the condensation of interpretation of past experiences. And all of this is attainable. Now, it's more attainable now than any time in human history, because with the approaching 8 billion people on the planet, there are so many millions of people now that are participating in spiritual practice that it's created something in the noosphere, the mental atmosphere, that makes it easier for people to come into states of enlightenment now. Whereas thousands of years ago, there was such a gross material concept about the planet and about people and about survival that it wasn't as easy. It's much easier now. So if you're interested, you'll be taken on a wild ride of unfoldment that will shed you from who you thought you were and allow a revelation to take place as to who you are, the beauty and the love, the absolute joy, the absolute sacredness, the absolute order of the universe, being you as the personification of it, you see. And then you'll understand the 3 levels of what happens in the course of enlightenment. There is the transpersonal, psychological, cognitive shift that takes place. You see things differently. You remember perhaps the story of under the Zen technology where an individual became enlightened and he said, before I was enlightened, mountains were mountains and rivers were rivers. And then I became enlightened. Mountains weren't mountains anymore. Rivers weren't river. Everything was different. I saw everything differently. And then later on, mountains were mountains and rivers were rivers again. I was talking to Reverend Arlene this morning, and she was explaining, now that she's been at this treatment center, doing sermons every week and guiding those who were breaking free from addiction into greater discoveries as to who they are. She was speaking of a particular woman who had been imprisoned, and while she was in prison, she had a spiritual awakening. And she said the walls melted, and they began to flow, and the floors flowed, and the walls weren't walls anymore. It was just a river of flowing energy. And when she heard Reverend Arlene speak, she said, that's what I saw in my awakening, that what you're saying is what I saw. Mountains were mountains, and then mountains weren't mountains. Rivers were rivers, and rivers weren't rivers. You see differently. It's a cognitive expression. Your spiritual astigmatism is healed, and you see, even in form, the presence of God back of everything, you see. And then there is the behavior shift, you see. Transpersonal behavior shift. And I told the story earlier about the so-called lowly laundryman in this particular community. No one gave that much of attention to him because he was the one doing everyone's laundry, you see. But they didn't know that back of this man was spiritual practice. That he really had a supreme interest in waking up, supreme interest in enlightenment. And one day, bam! Something opened up within him, and he began to see quite differently. And he went to his teacher and says, I'm enlightened. I understand why we've been doing what we've been doing. And the teacher said, hold on a minute. Let me ask you 2 questions to discern whether this is authentic. And he said to the student, what is Zen? At that moment, he dropped his bag of laundry. His back became erect. His countenance shone with such peace and such love and such joy. There was a smile on his face. He was radiating confidence. And then the teacher said, what's enlightenment? He picked up his bag and went back to work. The behavior, the life force was infused with his behavior. He didn't change his career, but the career became an extension of the generosity of the Spirit. I'm telling you, in that particular village, that laundry glowed. When people wore what he washed, whoop! Talk about get the stain out. The stench and the stain of separation, gone. He had a behavior shift. And then there's the existential it's Existential Shift. And I love the teachings of Jesus the Christ, where in the book of Matthew, in the 11th chapter, 28 through 30th verse, where Jesus is saying, take my yoke upon me. You know, it's easy. My burden is light. He's doing some powerful teaching there. And you know, when you understand the teachings of Jesus, it's not about history or things like that. He's teaching shifts of being. All of his teaching is about shifts of consciousness and shifts of being. And he's saying in substance that when you take this upon you, that when you really live for the Christ essence, when you really have a supreme interest, when you take my yoke upon you, it's easy, it's not heavy, and the burden is light. In other words, existentially, you know, existential existence. Your experience of existence changes. You have a different relationship to life. You actually can wake up, not force yourself to be happy. In the beginning, you may have to, but after you have an existential shift, you wake up. I'm thinking about somebody I'm working with right now, and she was sharing with me this week, and we've been working and praying and doing a lot around her body temple because the doctors have said, I said, yes, we're going to make it through. And she said, I woke up the other day, and I wasn't sad. I woke up in joy. I woke up in happiness. Is what she was telling me. She said, I woke up in joy. I woke up in happiness. My body is responding to all of the stuff that I'm doing in prayer and meditation and study and all of the different things. She had an existential shift. She woke up in joy. She's waking up in joy. I want you to know that the burden is light. You see, and as we deal with that particular topic, you know, that the burden of light, you see. One, there's a lightness of being that we have, and some people mistake that for indifference when things are going on in the world. Some people mistake that from not caring. Some people mistake that from you don't really see what's happening on the planet. Some people mistake that from you're not reading the newspaper properly. Some people mistake that from how can you be happy in the midst of all of that? Because the burden, the yoke is easy and the burden is light. You're living differently. There's not a weightiness. There is an awareness of a light and a luminosity and a beauty and a love and a light that is more real than the very chairs you're sitting on. And you can walk in the world now and see all of the things that need to be healed, but you're not entangled in that frequency. You are pulled by the possibility and the potentiality that is in every single being on this planet. You are a way shower. You're showing the way vibrationally of where we all can live, having a body and living in a higher frequency. In other words, we do not truck with the teaching that you're going to be good and die and go to heaven. No, we stand with the teachings of Jesus the Christ that says that the kingdom of heaven is at hand now. And you put it on vibrationally and carry it with you everywhere you go. The only thing you die to is your littleness, your small perception, your little point of views, your opinions, so that you can rise high in the vibrational frequency of heaven consciousness while you have a body. My burden, the burden of light, is that you'll have to become impervious when people don't quite understand your joy. They don't quite understand your peace in the midst of conflict, in the midst of all manner of things going on in the world. People won't understand it. And I'm thinking about the Essenes. I'm thinking about Jesus the Christ and his disciples. He had more than 12. He had women disciples as well. You know, don't get history twisted up in here. But in that particular time, Roman Empire occupying the state there, you know, the folks always knew who had been with Jesus because they glowed. They couldn't hide that in the midst of all the stuff going down, they had a level of joy about themselves, a level of celebration. They knew they had been with the guy. They knew they had been in spiritual practice. They knew they had been with these folks who were praying and meditating and going to the upper room on a regular basis. Those folks had been with him, you see. And the rest of the folks that were worshiping and celebrating, you see. And so the burden of light, you're able to walk in the world and take the slings and arrows of people who think you're not concerned. but you're more concerned than anybody. However, you're vibrating at the level of compassion and how can I serve to eliminate pain and suffering? You're vibrating differently. You're not vibrating on woe is me and oh my God, ain't it awful? You're vibrating at the level of compassion. How can I serve to dissolve suffering? It's a different frequency when you begin to ask, how can I serve? You're lifted up into a higher frequency to be a vehicle for service on the planet, you see. And so the burden of light is that you, as a cognitive awakening individual, look for and see possibility. So when you see ignorance running amok on the planet, you become aware that behind every human aberration lies a spiritual aspiration. Because life is never denied. Life always wins. Love always wins. And love is always seeking to express itself. So behind an aberrant behavior, destructive awareness, limited point of view, there is an energy trying to come up, but it's coming up through ignorance, it's coming up through myopic point of view. But the practitioner of the teachings is looking for the aspiration. That individual wants love. That individual wants peace. That individual wants security. That individual wants safety. It's coming up in crazy ways, but what the aspiration is God trying to come forward. And if enough people see the aspiration, we create a field of possibility, midwiving individuals to themselves, loving the world back to sanity. And that takes a little bit of work because sometimes it's just easier to say those people are stupid. Sometimes mental laziness can come in and say, they can never be helped. They're too far gone. Sometimes the mental laziness will just allow ones to just resign to that's just the way people are and forget about them. You see? But when you flex your spiritual muscles, doesn't mean you're running around being a do-gooder. When you flex your spiritual muscles, you're looking for that aspiration. That's the burden of life. When you wake up, you got work to do. For he or she, where much is given, much is required. You're able to see a little bit deeper, you see. And you're holding the candle. You're holding the flame of possibility for everyone, you see. And then you walk in an awareness. It's a different kind of walking. And what do I mean by that? It's many people, you can see two people going after the same thing. Let's say, they're starting a business or whatever's going on. But one is anxious and has a lot of anxiety and they don't know how they're going to do it and they're trying to manipulate. And the other one seems to be walking casually. They're not, but they're at a different frequency. And as I was saying earlier, I'm thinking about the old hiker and the young athletic hikers who had left the cabin to go on a nice, beautiful hike. And they did this for most of the day. And at the end of the day, they were ready to go back to the cabin to get some food and wash up and things of that particular nature. So the athletic guy said to the old hiker, we'll meet you at the cabin. We're going to run. We're going to, we got juice. So he said, okay. And they took off running. And when they got to the cabin, he was already there. And they said, what the heaven? How'd you beat us here? He said, well, you guys were fast, but I knew the way. You're fast, you're quick, but I knew the way. In other words, at a certain point of your spiritual development, you know the way, meaning you've already arrived. That you walk in a vibrational frequency that you're already there, and this is how it works. You're already there vibrationally, and then your already there-ness pulls you into taking the right steps for the manifestation. Your already there-ness allows you to hear from what you might call the future. The past, the present, and the future are happening simultaneously. Your already there-ness, you hear from your future self. Go here. Talk to this person. Meet this person. You're already there-ness. You're already there. I've already arrived. This is where the practitioner is living in prayer. I'm seeing the wholeness right now. I'm seeing right action occurring right now. That already there-ness then pulls you. You know the way. The way in is the way out, you see. And so your burden is light, weightless, and luminous. And then then you have another burden. You have a burden, and I'll use the word manage, but it's not really managing. You have a burden how to manage all this good stuff flowing through you. You wake up sometimes and just feel like, woo, oh my God, God loves me. Life loves me. Everything is working together for my good. I feel so good. I'm bad. Michael Jackson, I'm bad. You know, you have to manage just the feeling tone of brilliance moving through you. And you know it's not you, but it is you. It's the presence of God flowing through you, which allowed Jesus to say, when you see me, hey, you see the presence of God that is sending me. When you see me, you see the presence of God that's sending me. And it's not really me, it's that which is in me. You know, he bounced back and forth between third and fourth stages, but that's another class. You learn how to walk with unabashed confidence. You've already arrived. Behind the aberrations you're seeing with your physical eyes, you're looking for the aspiration. You're activating the law that what you're looking for, you're looking with. It becomes more activated, and you become a vibrational midwife to a world that's trying to be born right now. And right now, you can tell the uninitiated. We don't call them bad people. We just say people are uninitiated because they polarize themselves against other people. When there's polarity, then your spiritual rootedness is in sandy soil. And when stuff comes up, you can't handle the love. You can't stay in it. So you polarize, you see. Those people, you see. When you're initiated, this is just us. And then you see, oh, there's an aspiration there. I see the aspiration. I know they're not quite with the love right now. They're not quite with it. But because of your seeing it, that's your burden you got to carry. Because you see it, your vibration calls it forward. I know I'm putting a lot on you, but you can handle it. You're growing into divine, perfect spiritual maturity. At Agape, we don't teach followership. We teach spiritual leadership, you see. And I always invite the congregation to step into their leadership, to find their gift, their talent, their capacity, and to go forth. And let their light so shine before men and women that when they are seen, people are witnessing the presence of God, you see. And there's so many people in our community that have gone forward out into the world doing great things, you see. Allowing their magnificence to so shine that individuals often will say, you one of those agape people? Yes. How can you tell? You know, well, you're glowing, you're optimistic, you know, you're trying to do some things in the world. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that would include you, boo. That includes you, okay? So hear this. Supreme interest. Now, your interest determines your experience. People ask me about all kinds of things going on in the world. I say, no, I don't experience that. I don't experience that. Why don't you? I'm not interested. I govern my interest. I can watch the news and not be interested in COVID. I see what's going on, but I'm not interested. It's not like, woo. I'm informed, but I'm not interested. It doesn't pull my emotional interest. I know the context of what's going on. I'm interested in God. I'm interested in awakening to a greater level. I'm interested in service. I'm interested in love and peace and harmony and wholeness and generosity and beauty and creativity. That's what I'm interested in. What are you interested in? If you're interested in that which is going to bring fear to you, then you will, like Shakespeare says, you will die 1,000 deaths. A coward dies 1,000 deaths because they're always interested in what's going to kill them. And even if it doesn't kill them, they experience it in fear and anxiety and worry and anxiousness. Oh, why waste a life in anxiety? Why waste a life in anxiousness? Why a great cosmic being taking a human incarnation, walking around like, oh my God, guess what's going to hurt me? Don't indulge yourself thinking you're just a body temple. You have one. Fill yourself with light and allow the body to follow. Fill your mind with joy and allow the body to follow. Fill your mind with gratitude and thanksgiving and allow all your bodies to follow into that frequency. And then you'll be a harbinger of peace and of love and of harmony on the planet at this time in human history. You see? Supreme interest. The amazing dividends to behold. That's you. That's us. You see? Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy. My burden, the burden is light. Weightlessness and luminosity. And yes, when you glow, people are going to think you're a little bit strange. And they will say to you, did you not see the news? And you'll say, I saw the olds. It's the same stuff sold 3 times yesterday, the day before, and the day before. I'm into the good news. It's called the gospel. Good news. We are eternal beings, fraught with infinite possibilities. That's the news. And now I can be in this world of chaotic propensities. Chaos and order. Chaos revealing an underlying order that's trying to emerge. I can be in this chaotic world and be a beneficial presence and be a midwife to the order that's trying to happen. Because the universe is progressive and order is trying to happen. Order is trying to happen. Order is trying to happen. Woo! And you're going to have a hard time managing your joy, baby. People will think you nuts. What are you taking? Oxygen. It's a gas. Ooh, what are you on? Love. What are you on? I'm on peace. What are you on? What are you on? I'm on God. What are you taking? I'm on absolute certainty that life is for me and nothing's against me. What are you on? And you know what else? I'm contagious. This whole community is contagious with it. Go run and tell that. We're contagious with love. We're contagious with generosity. We're contagious with peace. We are contagious with joy. Catch it! Catch it! Catch it! And walk as an impervious being, shining the light. Oh, I think I'm going to stop right now. But there's always more. And the always more is reminding you that you are to be, consciously, a celebrant of the divine presence. That's your move. You wake up in the morning and say, just try this on for 7 days. Just wake up in the morning and say, what can I celebrate today? You live in that question. And then watch as your eyes open, everything peels away, and you start to see more and more to celebrate, things that you have obscured through limited perception. And then by the end of 7 days, you'll be at a higher vibration of celebration. And then more good will flow through you. And it's always been there. Okay, I said I was going to stop. Listen, I want you to watch this individual dance with the Rev at Agape. And then I'm going to ask you to dance. That's Bodie Thompson Gardner. Bodie Thompson, you got a good name, Bodie? Bodie Thompson Gardner.
Candace Robinson! What you got, Candace? Bring it!
Bodie! Woo-wee. Come on, Bodie. You got the name. Bodie Thompson Gardner. Give her a little chat up. Shout out on the chat. Chat up, Bodie. Thank her. for being a representation of divine celebration.
I love it. I love it. Represent God's glory of your
Come on. Come on. That's Bodie Thompson. Love her up a little bit right there. You know what to do. Just chat it up. Bodie, she's probably watching. Bodie's probably watching. So just chat up. And then it's time for you to get your groove on. To boogie down. Boogie down, down the hole. Boogie down, down the hole. Boogie down, down the hole. Boogie down, down. Let's groove tonight. Share the spice of life. And it's like tonight. We're gonna groove tonight. Let this groove get you to move. It's alright. Alright. Let this groove sit in your shoes and stand up. Alright. Alright. Gonna tell you what you can do with my love. Alright. Let you know you're looking good. You're out of sight. Are you out there dancing? Are you doing it? Move yourself. And glide like a 747 and lose yourself in the sky, among the clouds and the air. Let this groove light up the fuse. It's alright. Victor said it's his birthday week. Victor is celebrating the anniversary of his 47th birthday. Come on, Victor. What you can do with my love. Alright. Gotta let you know you're looking good. You're out of sight. Alright. Just tell the DJ to play your favorite tune. Then you know it's okay. What you found is happening now. Let this groove light up your fuse. It's alright. Alright. Let this groove slip in your shoes and stand up. Alright. Alright. Let this groove get you to move. It's alright. Alright. Let this groove slip in your shoes and stand up. What? Alright. You will find peace of mind on the floor. Take a little time. Come and see you and me. Get a little sign. I'll be there after a while if you want my love. We can boogie on down, down, boogie on down, down, boogie on down, down, boogie on down, Tonight. Oh, Victor Nickerson! It's his birthday week! Slice it right. Give him a little birthday celebration online. Wish him a happy birthday. A happy Appearance Day. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, brother. Receive all that love from the Agape Nation. This is the voice you hear when you call the altar. When you apply for a job at Agape, you got to show us your dance moves. This is Victor. That's Victor. Begin to focus Begin to bring that celebratory energy and feel it inside of your own being. Begin to feel that there's an inner luminosity, an inner light. Find something to celebrate in your awareness right now. Anything at all. So that the very blood changes its viscosity based on the chemicals moving through you in this dynamic moment of celebration. And then we enter into the proverbial gates with praise and thanksgiving. Turn within and be grateful for anything. And in this consciousness of gratitude, we feel something. We feel so grateful in this moment that all we can say is, I see God. Not with my eyes necessarily, but with my whole consciousness, I see the presence. I feel the presence. It's a feeling tone of oneness. And in this consciousness of oneness, the vibrational word is spoken, naming our time together magnificent, and is now a blessing for each and every individual tuning in now or any time they tune in. This word is eternal. And I speak it for all of us that we may be free. That indeed every single organ and every single action of the body temple, every function is now washed over with the presence of God and intentionality of health and wholeness, harmony and wellness and well-being, and that our body temple now responds. And there's a wholeness going on. There's a healing going on. There's a revelation of well-being that is going on physically and emotionally and mentally and psychically and etherically and astrally, and all of the subtle bodies coming in now into an alignment with the divine celestial body. Let there be light. We're into the vibration right now of the let there be. Declaring and decreeing, let there be light, let there be love, let there be abundance, let there be joy and prosperity, let there be wealth and well-being, wellness, wholeness, let there be divine intelligence and wisdom flowing through us, let there be. And there is. We know the way. We've already arrived. We're living and breathing in it. Woo! Right here. Woo! Right now. Oh! Feel it! Feel it. Feel it. Help them. Help them. Help them feel it.
The path is clear and there's nothing to fear. All I must do is walk. Yeah. If the way is straight and I've a key to the gate, all I must do is walk. If I have all I need to sustain and feed me, I'm carried each step of the way. Oh yes, then there's no need to wait, to wonder or talk. All I have to do is walk, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah. All I must do. If his arms are around me, catching my fall, all I need do is lean, yes. Since she's shining her light through my soul so bright, I can know what my life really means. It's a moment of glory, so sweet and divine, heavenly secrets unlocked. Yes, indeed. In strength, I stand in the Master's hand, and all I must do is walk. Hey, yeah.
What we gonna do, Marianne? We're gonna walk.
We're gonna walk now.
Walk now.
Take your steps.
Take your steps.
We're marching for freedom, yeah.
Walk to freedom, yeah.
Walk. Hey,
Hey,
just walk.
just walk.
Everything is made out
for
for
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Hey,
walk. Yeah.
walk.
You
You gotta just walk and talk.
that step.
Take your steps and
walk.
walk.
Oh, yes. The kingdom
Come on.
is here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh.
You know what you gotta do. You gotta just
All I must do is walk.
close that outer eye for a moment until I tell you to open it. Allow the presence of God that is all around you to be the activity of your awareness. And let us know the truth about these individuals. The truth is wholeness. That's the truth. There may be facts that contradict the truth, but we hang out in the truth until the facts organize themselves around it.